My parents didn't forget my graduation gift. They priced it at $15. The envelope dropped onto my lap during the ceremony, wrinkled, thin. A single bill inside. For gas money, Mom whispered. Across the aisle, my sister's new Honda Civic gleamed in the parking lot, red bow still attached. $28,000 versus $15. Dad leaned over. Your sister needs reliable transportation. You need to learn responsibility. 2 hours later, I stood beside that Honda at the reception. 140 guests circled the car, congratulating her. The $15 bill was still in my pocket, crumpled against my diploma. My cousin posted photos the car, the bow, me holding that single bill. 890,000 views by Sunday. Every neighbor saw the math. Then my parents' friends started commenting. But that viral moment was just the surface. The real story started 3 months earlier, when I still believed graduation day would be different. The email arrived at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in February. I was halfway through my shift at Morrison's Diner, refilling coffee for the third time to a table that wouldn't tip, when my phone buzzed against my hip. I almost didn't check it, almost kept pouring, kept smiling, kept pretending my degree was going to be worth the exhaustion carved into my bones. But something made me look. Subject: Financial Aid Award Notification. Full Merit Scholarship. My hands shook. Coffee sloshed over the rim of Mrs. Patterson's cup, pooling in her saucer. "Honey, you all right?" she asked. I couldn't answer. I was reading the same line over and over, waiting for it to change, waiting for the catch. "Congratulations, Jordan Hayes. Based on your academic excellence and leadership achievements, you have been awarded the Presidential Merit Scholarship covering full tuition, fees, and housing for 4 years. Total value, $72,000. $72,000. I'd done it. 4 years of 16-hour days, classes, work-study in the library, night shifts at the diner, weekend tutoring gigs. 4 years of watching my roommate's parents take her to dinner while I ate ramen in our dorm. 4 years of telling myself it would matter, someday, when I walked across that graduation stage. And now I had proof. I clocked out 20 minutes later, hands still trembling, and called my parents from the diner's parking lot. The phone rang 4 times. I counted each one, my heartbeat matching the rhythm. "Hello?" Mom's voice was distracted, muffled by distance. "Mom, I got it." The words came out choked. The full scholarship. All 4 years. I did it. Silence stretched between us. Then, "Oh, that's nice, honey." Nice. I waited for more. For the pride I'd been chasing since elementary school, when I brought home my first report card with all A's, and Dad said, "Good. Keep it up." I waited for her to call Dad to the phone, to scream with joy, to ask me to read the email out loud so she could hear every word. Instead, I heard dishes clattering in the background. "Mom, did you hear me?" Full scholarship. $72,000. "That's wonderful, Jordan. Really." Her tone was the same one she used when I told her I'd cleaned my room. Approval without enthusiasm. "Your father and I are proud of you." Proud. The word sat wrong in my chest, hollow and cold. "Are you busy right now?" I asked. "I thought maybe we could." "Actually, sweetie, I need to go. Brianna's on the other line. She has news too." My sister's name landed like a stone. "Oh, okay, I'll call you later, all right? Congratulations again." The line went dead. I sat in my car for 11 minutes, staring at the email, reading it over and over. $72,000, Presidential Merit Scholarship, top 2% of applicants nationwide. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text in the family group chat, the one I'd muted 6 months ago, because the notifications had started to hurt. "Mom, Brianna got promoted to Senior Marketing Manager. So proud of our girl. Celebration dinner tonight at Romano's, 7 p.m. Everyone come. Dad, that's my daughter. Knew you'd make it, Bri. Aunt Sarah. Congrats, Brianna. Uncle Mike. Way to go, kiddo." I scrolled up. No one had mentioned my scholarship. Not one word. I typed a message, "I got a full ride scholarship today," and stared at it for 30 seconds before deleting it, letter by letter, until the text box was empty again. That night, I worked a double shift. I told my manager I needed the hours. Really, I just didn't want to go home to my apartment and think about Romanos, about my family toasting Brianna's promotion with champagne I couldn't afford, about the way my mother's voice had gone flat when I told her the best news of my life. When I finally got home at midnight, there was one new message in the family chat. "Brianna, thanks everyone. Mom and Dad surprised me with a designer bag to celebrate. I'm so lucky." Underneath, a photo. Brianna holding a cream-colored purse, Mom and Dad on either side of her, all three of them beaming. I locked my phone and didn't open the family chat again for 2 weeks. But I kept that scholarship email, saved it in a folder labeled Proof. I didn't know then what I'd need to prove. I just knew, somewhere deep in my chest, where the hurt was starting to calcify, that I'd need evidence someday. Evidence that I'd been worth celebrating too. The memory sits wrong now, stained by everything that came after. But back then, in February, with my scholarship email still glowing on my screen, I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself that graduation day would be different. I told myself that when they saw me walk across that stage in 3 months, degree in hand, summa cum laude accords around my neck, they'd finally understand. They'd finally see me. I was wrong, but I didn't know that yet. I should have known better. The signs were always there, carved into 22 years of coming second in a 2-person race. My parents, Teresa and Richard Hayes, didn't hate me. That would have been easier to name, easier to fight. They just loved Brianna more. Louder. With their whole chests and open wallets and the kind of pride that made strangers smile. And me? I was loved the way you love a functional appliance. Appreciated when useful. Ignored when not. Brianna was 4 years older, which meant she got to every milestone first. First to graduate high school. First to college. First real job. First apartment. First everything that mattered. By the time I reached the same milestones, they were reruns. Predictable. Boring. At least, that's what I told myself when I was younger. When I was 10, I wanted a birthday party at the skating rink. I'd been asking for weeks, circling the date on the kitchen calendar, leaving hints in every conversation. "We'll see," Mom said. "We'll see" meant no. My birthday came on a Saturday. Mom baked a funfetti cake from a box and we ate it at the kitchen table, just the 4 of us. Dad gave me a card with $20 inside and a note that said, "Spend it wisely." I spent it on school supplies. 6 months later, Brianna turned 16. I remember walking into the country club ballroom and not recognizing my own family. There were balloons, hundreds of them, silver and gold, clustered against the ceiling like metallic clouds. A DJ spinning music I'd only heard on the radio. A chocolate fountain with 3 tiers. Brianna wore a dress that shimmered under the lights, something I later learned cost $600. 200 people showed up. I sat at a back table with my cousins and counted the cost in my head. The venue, the food, the DJ, the photographer. I got to $8,000 before I stopped counting. "Pretty crazy, right?" my cousin Dev whispered. I nodded. I didn't say what I was thinking. She got $8,000. I got 20. But I felt it. That hollow ache that settles in your chest when you realize you're not the same kind of loved. College was worse. Brianna went to State University, a good school, nothing Ivy League, but respectable. Mom and Dad paid every cent, $45,000 a year for tuition, room, board, books. 4 years, $180,000 total. When Brianna moved into her dorm freshman year, Dad bought her a car. Not new, but reliable, a used Toyota Camry, with only 30,000 miles. He handed her the keys in the parking lot and said, "Can't have my girl stranded." Brianna cried. Happy tears, the kind that come easy when you've never had to want for anything. I was 14 then, sitting in the back seat of Dad's truck, watching him hug her, and I thought, When I go to college, he'll do the same for me. 4 years later, I got my acceptance letter to the same state university. I ran downstairs, envelope in hand, shouting, "I got in! I got in!" Mom looked up from her laptop. "That's great, honey. So, we'll need to figure out financial aid, right?" I asked. "And loans? How did you do it for Brianna?" Mom's expression shifted. Not quite guilt, more like inconvenience. "Things are different now, Jordan. We're not in the same financial position we were when Brianna started." "What do you mean?" Dad walked in then, still in his work clothes, and Mom looked at him like she needed backup. "What your mother means," Dad said, "is that you're going to need to be smart about this. Take out loans. Work part-time. We can help a little, but you're going to need to cover most of it yourself." "But you paid for Brianna's entire." Brianna was different. His tone didn't invite argument. "She needed our help. You're more independent. You'll be fine." Independent. The word was supposed to sound like a compliment. It felt like an excuse. I took out $38,000 in student loans. I worked 30 hours a week at the university library, shelving books and helping freshmen find study rooms. I picked up weekend shifts at Morrison's Diner, the same place I still work now. I lived off ramen, peanut butter sandwiches, and the cheapest coffee the dining hall offered. Brianna posted photos on Instagram, brunches with friends, spring break in Cancun, a new laptop Dad bought her when hers crashed during finals week. I posted nothing. There was nothing worth posting. But I kept my head down. I told myself it didn't matter. I'd graduate, get a good job, prove that I didn't need their money. I'd show them that independence wasn't a punishment, it was power. By my senior year, I had a 3.97 gigapascals, Dean's List every semester, 2 research publications, a thesis that my advisor said was graduate-level work. I'd been accepted into 3 MBA programs, all offering partial scholarships. I was going to walk across that graduation stage summa cum laude. I thought that would be enough. I really thought that would be enough. When I sent out graduation announcements in April, I included a handwritten note in my parents' envelope. "Ceremony is May 14th at 2 p.m. I know it's a Saturday, but I really hope you can make it. This means a lot to me." Mom texted back, "Wouldn't miss it, sweetie. We're so proud." I saved that text. I read it when I couldn't sleep, when the weight of 4 years felt too heavy, when I wondered if any of it mattered. Wouldn't miss it. I believed her. That was my first mistake. Graduation day started at 6 a.m., with the kind of nervous energy that makes your hands shake and your stomach forget what hunger is. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, adjusting the collar of my white button-down for the 3rd time. My cap and gown hung on the back of the door, black polyester, standard issue, nothing special. But draped over the hanger were the cords that mattered. Gold for summa cum laude. Crimson for Dean's List. Blue for my departmental honors. 3 cords, 4 years of proof. I took a photo of them and almost sent it to the family group chat. My thumb hovered over the send button. Then I remembered the last message in that chat, Brianna posting about her new promotion 2 weeks ago. 37 congratulatory responses in under an hour. I locked my phone and got dressed. By noon, I was on campus. The ceremony didn't start until 2, but I wanted to be early. I wanted to soak in every minute of this, the day I'd been chasing since freshman orientation. The venue was the outdoor amphitheater, a semicircular stone structure with tiered seating that could hold 800 guests. The stage was decorated with university banners, a podium draped in the school colors, rows of chairs for faculty and distinguished guests. It was perfect. I found my spot in the graduating class section alphabetical by last name, so I was somewhere in the middle. Around me, my classmates buzzed with excitement, adjusting their caps, taking selfies, hugging friends they'd spent 4 years building memories with. I scanned the guest section. There, 4th row, 3 seats together. I'd reserved them weeks ago, sent my parents the section and row number in a text. The seats were empty, but it was still early. They'd show up. They said they wouldn't miss it. At 1:30 p.m., the seats were still empty. I checked my phone. No messages. At 1:45 p.m., I texted Mom. Are you here? Ceremony starts soon. No response. At 1:55 p.m., the processional music started. Faculty filed onto the stage in their regalia, hoods in jewel tones that marked their degrees and universities. We stood, arranged in our lines, ready to walk. I looked back one more time. The seats were still empty. My chest tightened, but I forced it down. They were just running late. Traffic. Parking. Something. They'd be there. The ceremony began. We walked in rows, 2 by 2, and took our seats facing the stage. The university president gave a speech about resilience and the future. A student speaker talked about gratitude. The dean announced distinguished graduates. My name was called for summa cum laude. I stood, walked to the stage, shook hands, received my honors certificate. And when I returned to my seat, I looked back at the audience one more time. Fourth row, 3 empty seats. They weren't coming. The realization hit slow. Then all at once, like cold water filling my lungs. They weren't coming. I sat through the rest of the ceremony in a fog. Names were called. Degrees were conferred. My classmates cheered when their families screamed their names. When it was my turn to walk across the stage and receive my diploma, I heard nothing. Just silence, vast and humiliating, in an amphitheater full of sound. After the ceremony ended, I stood near the exit, watching families swarm their graduates with flowers and cameras and the kind of joy that makes you forget, for a moment, how hard the world is. My phone buzzed. Mom, meet us in the west parking lot. We have a surprise. Relief punched through me so hard I almost cried. They were here. They'd come after all. Maybe they'd been delayed. Maybe they'd missed the ceremony, but they were here now. And that was what mattered. I walked to the west parking lot, weaving through crowds of families, my diploma folder tucked under my arm. I saw them before they saw me. Mom, Dad, and Brianna standing beside a Honda Civic I didn't recognize. It was red, polished. A giant white bow sat on the hood like a parade float. Brianna saw me first. She waved, grinning. Jordan, there you are. I walked closer, confused. What is this? Dad stepped forward, keys dangling from his hand. Surprise! We got Brianna a car. Isn't it beautiful? I stared at him. You got Brianna a car. She needs reliable transportation, Mom added, beaming. Her old car's been having issues, and with her new promotion, she'll be driving to client sites. We wanted her to have something dependable. For her promotion, I repeated, the words hollow in my mouth. Exactly! Brianna bounced on her heels. Isn't it perfect? They literally just gave me the keys. I looked at my parents. At Brianna. At the car with its $28,000 price tag gleaming under the May sun. I just graduated, I said quietly. Mom blinked. We know, honey. Congratulations. You missed the ceremony. We were here, Dad said, his tone clipped now, defensive. We got here early to pick up the car from the dealership and surprise Brianna. It took longer than we thought. You were at a dealership. The words came out flat. Jordan, don't be dramatic. Mom's smile tightened. We're here now. We didn't miss the important part. The important part was the ceremony. Dad sighed, the kind of sigh that said I was being unreasonable. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope wrinkled, bent at one corner. Here, we got you something too. He handed it to me. I opened it. Inside was a $15 bill. $15. It's for gas money, Mom said brightly. You know, for your job search. You'll be driving around a lot. I stared at the bill, at my parents, at Brianna's gleaming new car. $15. Jordan! Dad's voice took on an edge. Your sister needs reliable transportation. You're young. You'll figure it out. This is part of growing up, learning responsibility. Learning that the real world doesn't hand you things. I worked 30 hours a week for 4 years, I said. my voice shaking now. I took out $38,000 in loans. I just graduated summa cum laude, and you bought her a car and gave me $15. You're being ungrateful, Mom snapped. We're trying to help you learn. Learn what? I cut her off. That I'm worth $15? Silence. Brianna shifted uncomfortably. Dad's jaw tightened. And in that silence, something inside me cracked. I folded the $15 bill and put it in my pocket. I tucked my diploma folder under my arm. Thank you for coming, I said, my voice hollow. Then, I walked away. Behind me, I heard Mom call my name, but I didn't turn around. I walked back to my car, a 13-year-old Corolla with 140,000 miles and a check engine light that had been on for 6 months, and sat in the driver's seat. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the $15 bill in my hand, while 2 rows over, my family posed for photos in front of Brianna's new Honda. My cousin Dev texted me an hour later. Saw the pics your mom posted. I opened Facebook. There it was. A family photo. Mom, Dad, and Brianna standing in front of the red Civic, all 3 of them smiling. The caption read, "So proud of our girls today. Brianna's new ride and Jordan's graduation. Number blessed, number proud parents." In the second photo, I was in the background holding the envelope, my face half turned away, the $15 bill barely visible in my hand. Someone had already commented, "Wait, is that all Jordan got?" I closed the app, but the photo was already out there, circulating, spreading. By Sunday, my cousin's friend had reshared it, then someone else, then someone else. 890,000 views, and every single one of them could see the math. $28,000 for Brianna, $15 for me. That's when I started noticing other things. Small things. Details that didn't add up. Like the parking receipt I found in the back seat of my car later that night, time-stamped 11:07 a.m. 3 hours before my ceremony started. 3 hours they'd spent at a car dealership instead of watching me graduate. I saved that receipt. I didn't know why yet. I just knew I'd need it someday. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the parking lot scene over and over. The car, the bow, the envelope with $15 inside. My father's voice, "You need to learn responsibility." But it wasn't the humiliation keeping me awake. It was the receipt. I'd found it wedged between my passenger seat and center console when I got home, a small slip of thermal paper, the kind that fades if you leave it in sunlight too long. I'd almost thrown it away, almost. But something made me look closer. West Parking Structure, University Campus. Time, 11:07 a.m. Date, May 14. 11:07 in the morning. My graduation ceremony started at 2 p.m. I sat up, reaching for my phone on the nightstand. The blue light burned my eyes as I pulled up the ceremony details I'd emailed my parents 6 weeks ago. Graduation ceremony, May 14, 2 p.m., 4:30 p.m. Doors open at 1:30 p.m. Guest seating, Section C, rows 1 to 10. They'd arrived almost 3 hours early. For what? I opened my texts and scrolled to the message Mom sent during the ceremony. "Meet us in the West parking lot. We have a surprise." The West parking lot. The same structure on the receipt. They'd been there the whole time. My stomach twisted. I got out of bed and paced my apartment, the receipt clutched in my hand. It was 2:47 a.m. Too late to call anyone. Too early to make sense of the thoughts spiraling through my head. If they'd arrived at 11 a.m., where had they been for 3 hours? Not at my ceremony. I'd checked the guest section a dozen times. Not stuck in traffic. Not lost. So where? I made coffee I didn't drink and watched the sunrise through my kitchen window, the receipt sitting on the counter like evidence of something I couldn't name yet. At 8:30 a.m., I called the university's events office. "Hi, this is Jordan Hayes. I graduated yesterday, and I'm trying to figure out if there were any events before the main ceremony." Like a pre-reception or donor breakfast? The woman on the phone hummed, typing in the background. Let me check. Yes, we had the President's Circle breakfast from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's an annual event for major donors and their families. My pulse quickened. Who attends that? Donors who've contributed $50,000 or more to the university, plus their guests. It's invitation only. $50,000. My parents hadn't donated $50,000 to my education. They donated zero. Can you tell me if specific people attended? I asked, keeping my voice steady. I'm sorry, that's confidential, but if you're a graduate, you can request your family's RSVP records through the registrar. I thanked her and hung up. Then I called the registrar's office. It took 4 transfers, 10 minutes on hold, and one very patient administrator named Lisa before I got the answer. Yes, Lisa said, her keyboard clicking. I see an RSVP here for the President's Circle breakfast on May 14th. 2 guests under the name Richard and Teresa Hayes. The floor tilted. 2 guests. That's correct. Would you like me to email you a copy of the RSVP confirmation? Yes, please. The email arrived 6 minutes later. I opened it on my phone, hands shaking. President's Circle breakfast, May 14. 10 a.m., 1 p.m. RSVP, Richard Hayes plus Teresa Hayes. Guest affiliation, Brianna Hayes. Class of 2019. Brianna. They'd RSVP'd as Brianna's guests. Brianna, who graduated 4 years ago. Brianna, who didn't attend this university anymore. Brianna, who they'd driven 3 hours to bring to a donor breakfast, she had no reason to attend. And then they'd skipped my ceremony. I read the email 3 more times, waiting for it to make sense. It didn't. I called my best friend Morgan. She answered on the second ring, her voice groggy. Jordan? It's 9 in the morning on a Sunday. Are you dying? They went to a donor breakfast, I said, the words tumbling out too fast. My parents. They RSVP'd for a $50,000 donor event with Brianna and skipped my graduation. Silence. Then, what? I told her everything. The receipt, the 3-hour gap, the RSVP confirmation with Brianna's name. When I finished, Morgan said quietly, Jordan, why would they RSVP as donors if they didn't pay for your school? That was the question. The one I'd been circling for hours, too afraid to land on the answer. I don't know, I whispered. But I was starting to suspect, and the suspicion felt like falling. I spent Sunday afternoon doing something I should have done years ago. I logged into my bank account and started scrolling. Not just glancing at my balance like I usually did, making sure I had enough for rent and groceries and the minimum payment on my credit card. Really scrolling. Month by month, transaction by transaction. I went back 18 months. January of my junior year. That's when I noticed the first withdrawal I didn't recognize. 0114. Debit card purchase. $287.16. Nordstrom. I stared at it. I hadn't shopped at Nordstrom in my life. I couldn't afford Nordstrom. I bought my clothes at Target and Goodwill, and once, memorably, a clearance rack behind a grocery store. I kept scrolling. 0209. Debit card purchase. $154. Sephora. 0223. Debit card purchase. $312.45. Pottery Barn. 0318. Debit card purchase. $198. ANTANNT. Anthropology. The list went on. 14 transactions total. Stores I'd never been to. Amounts I'd never spent. $4,200. $4,200 drained from my account over 18 months in purchases I didn't make. My hands started shaking. I grabbed my laptop and opened my bank's website, navigating to the fraud department. But before I submitted the claim, something made me stop. I pulled up Instagram. Brianna's profile was public, always had been. She posted 3 times a week, minimum. Aesthetic shots of her apartment, her outfits, her brunches with friends. I started scrolling backward. February 9th. There, a photo of Brianna holding a Sephora bag. The caption: treated myself to some new makeup. Self-care Sunday. The date matched the transaction. February 23rd. Another post. A photo of a decorative vase on her coffee table. New pieces for the apartment from Pottery Barn. Obsessed. March 18th. A mirror selfie in a new dress. Anthro finds hit different. Every single transaction. Every fraudulent charge on my account matched a purchase Brianna posted on Instagram. I printed the bank statements. Then I screenshotted every Instagram post with a matching date and transaction. 14 purchases, 14 posts, 14 pieces of evidence. But how? I hadn't given Brianna access to my account. I hadn't given anyone access. Then I remembered. Freshman year. The emergency contact form the university made us fill out. They'd asked for a parent or guardian, someone who could access our student accounts if something happened: medical emergency, accident, natural disaster. I'd listed my dad. And I'd given the university a debit card to keep on file for student fees, library fines, emergency expenses. The card I still used now. I pulled it out of my wallet and stared at it. This card. My dad had access to my student account for 3 years. He could have written down the number, could have taken a photo, could have handed it to Brianna and said, "Just use it for small things. Jordan won't notice." But I had noticed. I just hadn't known what I was looking at. Not until now. I opened a new document and started a spreadsheet. Date. Store amount. Instagram post. Evidence. I filled in every row, cross-referencing transactions with photos, timestamps with captions. By the time I finished, it was dark outside. My apartment was silent except for the hum of my laptop and the sound of my own breathing. $4,200. Stolen. Not borrowed. Not a misunderstanding. Stolen. I thought about calling my parents, confronting them, demanding answers. But something stopped me. If they'd done this, if they'd let Brianna use my card for 18 months without telling me what else had they done? I saved the spreadsheet. Then I kept digging. The rabbit hole went deeper than I expected. It started with a memory I'd buried. Spring of my freshman year. I was sitting in the financial aid office, paperwork spread across the desk, while a tired advisor named Mr. Caldwell explained my loan options. "You'll need a co-signer," he'd said. "Someone with good credit to back the loan, usually a parent." I'd called my dad that night. "Can you co-sign my student loans?" I'd asked. The advisor said I need someone with established credit. There'd been a long pause. Then, "Jordan, I can't. My credit's not great right now. We had some issues a few years back. Medical bills, you understand." I'd understood. Or I thought I had. I'd taken out the loans in my name only. Higher interest rates, worse repayment terms. But I'd made it work because I didn't have a choice. Now, sitting at my kitchen table with my laptop open and the stolen $4,200 fresh in my mind, I thought, what if he lied? I pulled up a free credit monitoring site and typed in my dad's name. It took 3 tries, different email addresses, password resets, security questions. I had to guess, but eventually, I got in. And there it was. Richard Hayes, credit score, 780. 780. Excellent credit. Not good, not decent, excellent. I scrolled further. No missed payments, no collections, no medical debt. Just 3 credit cards with low balances, a mortgage that was paid on time every month, and I stopped. Investment property has shown to $340,000. Investment property #2 to $285,000. Investment property #3 to $410,000. 3. Rental properties. My father, who couldn't co-sign my student loans because of bad credit, Owned 3 rental properties worth over $1 million combined. I sat back, staring at the screen. He'd lied. He'd looked me in the eye, told me his credit was bad, and let me take out $38,000 in loans at 6.8% interest while he collected rent on properties I didn't even know existed. I grabbed my phone and pulled up Brianna's student loan information. Or tried to. I didn't have access to her accounts. But I remembered something. Thanksgiving 2 years ago, Brianna complaining at dinner about her loans, how stressful repayment was. "How much do you owe?" I'd asked. She'd shrugged. "I don't know. My parents handled all that. I think they paid most of it off already." Paid most of it off. I opened a new browser tab and searched for student loan cosigner records. It took 20 minutes and 2 dead ends before I found what I needed: the National Student Loan Database. I entered Brianna's information. Total federal loans, $52,000. Cosigner, Richard Hayes. Current balance, $8,400. $8,400. She'd borrowed $52,000. She owed $8,400, which meant someone had paid off $43,600. I checked my own loans. Total federal loans, $38,000. Cosigner, none. Current balance, $38,000. None. No help, no cosigner, no payments made on my behalf. I pulled up my parents' tax returns next, the ones I'd found last Christmas when I was looking for old photo albums in their basement. I'd glanced at them then, not really paying attention. Now I looked closer. Line 32. Dependents claimed. Brianna Hayes, D.O.B., the 15th of August, 1997. Just Brianna. Not me. I scrolled to the previous year's return. Same thing. And the year before that? 4 years of tax returns. 4 years of claiming Brianna as a dependent qualifying for education credits, deductions, tax breaks. 4 years of not claiming me. I wasn't listed. Not once. I'd lived in their house until I was 18. I'd filed my FAFSA using their income information, but on paper, to the IRS, I didn't exist. I stood up, pacing my apartment, my thoughts spinning too fast to catch. The donor breakfast, the stolen $4,200, the cosigner lie, the tax returns. This wasn't favoritism. This wasn't even neglect. This was deliberate, systematic. They'd erased me financially while propping Brianna up, and they'd done it so carefully I hadn't noticed until now. I grabbed my phone and called Morgan. "I need to see you," I said when she answered. "What happened?" "Everything," I said. Everything happened. An hour later, I was sitting in Morgan's living room, my laptop open on her coffee table, the spreadsheet and credit reports and tax documents spread out like evidence at a crime scene. Morgan read through it all in silence. When she finished, she looked at me, her expression somewhere between fury and heartbreak. "Jordan," she said quietly, "this isn't just bad parenting. This is financial abuse." The words landed heavy. Financial abuse. I'd never thought of it that way. But hearing Morgan say it out loud made something crack open in my chest. "They stole from you," she continued. "They lied to you. They sabotaged your financial aid so Brianna could get more. And they've been doing it for years. I don't—" My voice broke. "I don't understand why." Morgan reached across the table and gripped my hand. "Because they could," she said. "Because you were easy to ignore and Brianna wasn't. Because they're selfish. Pick a reason. None of them are good enough." I stared at the documents on the table. 18 months of theft. 4 years of loans I shouldn't have needed. A lifetime of coming second. "What do I do?" I whispered. Morgan's jaw tightened. "You talk to a lawyer," she said, "and you make them pay." I nodded. For the first time since graduation, I wasn't sad. I was angry. And anger, I was learning, had teeth. Morgan made tea I didn't drink. We sat across from each other at her small kitchen table, my laptop between us, the evidence glowing on the screen like something radioactive. It was nearly midnight. I'd been talking for 40 minutes straight, my voice hoarse from explaining every transaction, every lie, every dollar that didn't add up. When I finally stopped, Morgan leaned back in her chair and said, "Holy shit." "Yeah." "No, Jordan. Holy shit." She pointed at the spreadsheet. "This isn't just favoritism. This is a crime. Multiple crimes." I wrapped my hands around the mug of tea, letting the heat seep into my palms. I keep thinking I'm overreacting. Like maybe there's an explanation I'm missing. There's no explanation for stealing $4,200 from your kid. Morgan's voice was sharp now, the kind of sharp that comes from being angry on someone else's behalf. There's no explanation for lying about credit scores, or donor breakfasts, or any of this. They're my parents. They're thieves. The word hung between us. Thieves. I'd been dancing around it for days, calling it favoritism, calling it neglect, calling it anything but what it was. But Morgan was right. They'd stolen from me. "What do I do?" I asked. Morgan pulled the laptop closer, scrolling through the bank statements again. "You need to talk to a lawyer, like yesterday." "I can't afford a lawyer. A lot of them do free consultations. Especially for cases like this." She looked up at me. "Jordan, you have documentation. Dates, amounts, screenshots, Instagram posts. For God's sake. This is an airtight case." "A case for what?" "Theft, fraud, financial abuse." Morgan ticked them off on her fingers. "And that's just criminal. You could probably sue them civilly too. Get your money back, maybe more." My stomach twisted. "I can't sue my parents." "Why not?" "Because I stopped, searched for the right words. They're still my parents." Morgan's expression softened. She reached across the table and took my hand. "Jordan, listen to me. Parents don't steal from their kids. Parents don't sabotage their kids' education so the other one gets more. Parents don't make you work 30 hours a week while they pay for your sister's spring break to Cancun." My throat tightened. "You've been killing yourself for 4 years," Morgan continued, her voice quiet now. "You ate ramen for dinner. You worked doubles at that diner. You graduated summa cum laude with $38,000 in debt, while they paid off your sister's loans and bought her a car." She squeezed my hand. "That's not love, Jordan. I don't know what it is, but it's not love." I wanted to argue, to defend them, to say it wasn't that bad, that every family had problems, that I was being too sensitive, but I couldn't. Because she was right. "I'm scared," I admitted. "Of what?" "Of what happens if I do this. If I report them. If I swallowed hard. If I destroy my family." Morgan didn't look away. "Jordan, they destroyed it first." The truth of that settled over me like a weight. They destroyed it the moment they chose Brianna over me. The moment they lied about the credit score. The moment they handed my debit card to my sister and said nothing. I'd just been too busy surviving to notice. "Okay," I said quietly. "Okay? Okay, I'll talk to a lawyer." Morgan's face broke into a fierce smile. "Good. I'll help you find one. And Jordan?" "Yeah?" "Whatever you decide to do after that, reporting them, suing them, going public, I'm with you. Every step." I nodded, not trusting my voice. For the first time in 4 years, I didn't feel alone. Morgan pulled her phone out and started searching. "There's a lawyer in downtown Yolanda Chen. She specializes in family law and financial abuse cases. Her consultations are free." "How do you know that?" "Because I already looked her up while you were talking." Morgan grinned. "I had a feeling you'd need a name." I laughed, shaky and surprised. "You're terrifying." "I know." She turned her phone toward me. "Her office opens at 9. I'm calling first thing in the morning to make you an appointment." "Morgan, don't argue. You're going." I looked at my best friend, at the determination in her eyes. The way she'd dropped everything to sit with me at midnight and sort through the wreckage of my family, and something inside me shifted. Maybe I couldn't do this alone. But I didn't have to. Thank you, I said. Morgan reached across the table and pulled me into a hug. We're going to make them pay, she whispered. I promise. And for the first time since graduation, I believed her. The law office of Yolanda Chen was on the fourth floor of a building downtown that smelled like coffee and old carpet. Morgan came with me. She sat in the waiting room while I was called back, flipping through a magazine she wasn't reading, her knee bouncing with nervous energy. Yolanda Chen was younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, sharp suit, dark hair pulled into a bun. Her office was small but organized. Shelves lined with legal textbooks, a desk covered in case files, and a window that overlooked the parking lot. She gestured to the chair across from her. Jordan Hayes? Yes, thank you for seeing me. Of course. She sat down, folding her hands on the desk. Morgan mentioned financial abuse on the phone. Why don't you start from the beginning? I did. I told her everything. The graduation, the $15, the donor breakfast, the stolen $4,200, the cosigner lie, the tax returns. I pulled out the folder I'd prepared, printed bank statements, screenshots of Brianna's Instagram, credit reports, tax documents, and slid it across the desk. Yolanda opened it and started reading. The room was silent except for the sound of pages turning. After 5 minutes, she looked up. This is prosecutable, she said. The air left my lungs. What? This is prosecutable theft. Possibly fraud, depending on how your father obtained access to your debit card information. Yolanda tapped the bank statements. Unauthorized use of a debit card is a crime. In this state, it's classified as theft by deception. Theft by deception, I repeated, the words strange in my mouth. And that's just criminal. Yolanda leaned back in her chair. You also have a strong civil case. You could sue for the $4,200 plus damages. Emotional distress. Loss of financial opportunity. How much are we talking? Depends on the jury. But with documentation like this, conservatively, $10,000 to $15,000. Maybe more. My hands started shaking. Yolanda noticed. Her expression softened. I know this is a lot. Let me walk you through your options. She pulled out a legal pad and started writing. Option 1. Criminal charges. You file a police report for theft. The state handles the prosecution. It's free, but it's slow. Could take 6 to 12 months. And my parents would be arrested? Potentially. Depends on the district attorney. They might offer a plea deal. Probation. Restitution. Community service. I swallowed hard. What's option 2? Civil lawsuit. You sue them directly for the money they stole, plus damages, faster than criminal court, but it costs money up front. Filing fees, court costs. You'd need about $5,000 to start. I didn't have $5,000. Yolanda must have seen it on my face. There's a third option, she said. You file a police report. Let the criminal case move forward, and use the outcome to strengthen a civil case later. That way, you're not paying up front, and you still have legal validation. Legal validation. If they're convicted criminally, it's much easier to win a civil case. The court's already determined they committed a crime. You just have to prove damages. I stared at the legal pad, at the 3 options written in neat handwriting. What would you do? I asked. If you were me? Yolanda set down her pen. Honestly, I'd file the police report. Document everything. And then I'd decide whether I wanted to push for a civil case after the criminal outcome. She paused. But Jordan, you need to understand, this is going to blow up your family. It's already blown up. It's going to get worse. Your parents will deny it. Your sister will probably side with them. Extended family will take sides. It's going to be ugly. I thought about Morgan's words from the night before. They destroyed it first. I don't care, I said. I want to do it. Yolanda studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. Let's build your case. She pulled a fresh legal pad toward her. First, I need you to gather every piece of evidence you have. Bank statements going back 2 years, tax returns, screenshots, receipts, emails, texts, anything that shows a pattern. I have most of that already. Good. Second, you're going to file a police report. I'll write you a summary to bring with you. It'll help the officer understand the scope of the case. What happens after I file? They'll assign a detective. He or she will interview you, possibly interview your parents, review the evidence. If they find probable cause, they'll refer it to the district attorney for charges. How long does that take? Weeks, maybe months. Yolanda's expression was serious now. This isn't fast, Jordan, and it's not easy. But if you want justice, this is how you get it. Justice. The word felt too big for what I wanted. I didn't want justice. I wanted them to admit what they'd done. I wanted them to say I mattered. But maybe justice was the closest I'd get. Okay, I said. Let's do it. Yolanda smiled, small but real. I'll draft the summary tonight. Come back tomorrow, and we'll go over it before you file the report. I stood, shaking her hand. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, she said. This is going to be hard. Yeah? You have an airtight case, your parents did this, and you're going to prove it. I walked out of her office feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Morgan stood up the second she saw me. Well? She said it's prosecutable. Morgan's face split into a grin. Hell yes. We walked to the car, and for the first time since graduation, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope? The next 3 weeks were a blur of documentation. I became obsessed. Every night after work, I came home to my apartment, made coffee I'd drink, cold at 2 a.m., and combed through 4 years of financial records like an archaeologist searching for bones. I found more than bones. I found a pattern. It started with the bank statements. I printed every single one from the past 2 years, 48 months of transactions, highlighted in yellow every purchase I didn't recognize. 23 unauthorized charges. Not 14 like I'd originally thought. 23. The additional 9 had been smaller, $30 here, $50 there, amounts small enough that I'd missed them the first time. But added together, they pushed the total to $5,680. $5,680. Stolen over 2 years. I cross-referenced every charge with Brianna's social media. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, every platform she used, I searched. 19 of the 23 charges had matching posts. The other 4, I traced to her Venmo account public, because of course it was where she'd sent payments to friends with captions like brunch split and girls trip fund on dates that matched the mystery charges. I screenshotted everything. Then I made a spreadsheet. Unauthorized charges, evidence log, date, amount, store, Instagram post, Venmo activity, notes. I filled in every row with timestamps, links, image files. I color-coded it, red for confirmed theft, yellow for suspected, green for documented via social media. By the time I finished, the spreadsheet was 11 pages long. Morgan came over one night and stared at it. This is insane. This is evidence. This is damning evidence. She scrolled through the pages. Jordan, you could teach a forensic accounting class with this. I didn't tell her that I'd spent 6 hours the night before learning basic forensic accounting techniques on YouTube. Next, I tackled the student loans. I requested my full financial aid history from the university, every form, every FAFSA, every loan disbursement. It took 2 weeks and 4 follow-up emails, but eventually, they sent me a PDF file labeled Financial Aid Records, Jordan Hayes, 2018 to 2022. I opened it and started reading. Page 12 nearly broke me. It was the Parent Plus loan application. From my freshman year, the form parents fill out to borrow money on behalf of their student. My dad had filled it out. But he'd checked the box that said, "Denied, adverse credit history." I read it 3 times. Then I pulled up his credit report again. Credit score, 780. No adverse history, no missed payments, no collections. He'd lied on a federal loan application. That wasn't just theft. That was fraud. I saved the document and added it to a new folder labeled Federal Fraud Evidence. Then I kept digging. I found the tax returns next, not just the ones I'd seen at my parents' house, but 5 years' worth that I requested from the IRS using my social security number. Every single year, my parents had claimed Brianna as a dependent, not me, which meant they'd received the American Opportunity Tax Credit, $2,500, divided by year for 4 years, equals $10,000. Education expense deductions. Dependent exemptions. For Brianna, for 4 years, they'd collected tax breaks for her education while I paid full price. I calculated the total benefit they'd received. $14,600 in tax credits and deductions. Money they'd pocketed while I worked 30-hour weeks and ate ramen for dinner. I printed the tax returns and highlighted every instance of Brianna's name. Then I added it to the folder. By the end of week 3, I had 11-page spreadsheet documenting $5,680 in theft, 23 Instagram screenshots with matching transactions, credit reports showing Dad's 780 score and 3 rental properties, federal loan application showing fraudulent adverse credit claim, 5 years of tax returns showing systematic dependent claim fraud, bank records, Venmo receipts, FAFSA forms, and university financial aid summaries. I organized it all into a black binder with tabbed sections. Evidence. Hayes family financial abuse case. 89 pages total. Morgan helped me make 3 copies, one for me, one for the police, one for Yolanda. "This is terrifying," Morgan said, staring at the finished binders. "In a good way, but terrifying." "Yeah. You ready to file the report?" I looked at the binders. At 2 years of my life reduced to evidence. At proof that my parents had systematically stolen from me, lied to me, and sabotaged my future while building my sister's. "Yeah," I said. "I'm ready." The next morning, I walked into the police station with the binder under my arm. The officer at the front desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "I need to file a report," I said. "Okay. What was stolen?" I set the binder on the counter. $5,680 from my bank account, over 2 years, by my parents. The officer blinked. "Your parents?" "Yes." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he picked up the phone. "Let me get a detective." 20 minutes later, I was sitting in a small interview room across from Detective Maria Lopez, mid-40s, kind eyes, a notepad open in front of her. "Tell me what happened," she said. So I did. I walked her through the donor breakfast, the graduation, the $15, the parking receipt, then the bank statements, the Instagram posts, the credit report, the loan fraud, the tax returns. I handed her the binder. She opened it and started reading. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, she looked up. "Miss Hayes," she said slowly. "This is one of the most well-documented cases I've ever seen." My chest tightened. "Is that good?" "It's very good. For you." She tapped the binder. "Unauthorized use of a debit card is theft. In Colorado, it's a Class 2 misdemeanor. Your father's loan application fraud could be federal." "Federal?" "Lying on a federal financial aid form is a felony. We'd have to refer it to the FBI. But," she trailed off, flipping through the pages again, "with this level of documentation, you have a prosecutable case. What happens now?" "I'm going to open an investigation." Case number 2025 to 8841. I'll review all your evidence, interview you formally, and then I'll contact your parents for their side of the story. They're going to deny it. Probably. Detective Lopez met my eyes. But you have proof, and proof is what matters. I nodded, my hands shaking in my lap. One more thing, she said. Are you sure you want to do this? Once I start the investigation, it's going to get complicated. Family cases always do. I thought about Morgan's words. They destroyed it first. I'm sure, I said. Detective Lopez closed the binder. Okay, let's make them pay. I walked out of the police station an hour later with a case number, a detective's business card, and a copy of my report. Morgan was waiting in the parking lot. Well? Case number 2025 to 8841, I said. Official investigation. She pulled me into a hug so tight I couldn't breathe. We're doing this, she whispered. We're doing this, I agreed. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was fighting back. 3 days after filing the police report, I got a text from Brianna. Brianna. Engagement party July 12th, 6 p.m. at Lakeview Country Club. Hope you can come. It would mean a lot. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I called Morgan. She invited me to her engagement party. The audacity. Morgan's voice was sharp. Are you going? I hadn't planned to. The thought of watching my parents celebrate Brianna again, watching them spend thousands on her happiness while pretending I didn't exist, made my stomach turn. But then something else occurred to me. How many people do you think will be there? I asked. Morgan paused. At a country club? Couple hundred, probably. Why? Because if I'm going to confront them, I want witnesses. Silence on the other end. Then, oh my God, you want to do it at the party? Detective Lopez said she'd contact them next week for interviews. But what if I beat her to it? What if I tell everyone exactly what they did? Jordan. Morgan's voice was careful now. They deserve nuclear. I'm not disagreeing. Are you sure? Once you do this, there's no going back. I thought about the $15 bill, the empty chairs at graduation, the $5,680 stolen from my account while I worked doubles at the diner. I'm sure. Okay. Morgan's tone shifted. All business now. Then we need a plan. You can't just show up and wing it. You need evidence, a script, and a way out. We spent the next 2 hours on the phone mapping it out. I'd bring printed copies of the bank statements, the highlighted ones showing every unauthorized charge. I'd bring screenshots of Brianna's Instagram posts. I'd bring the credit report showing Dad's 780 score in rental properties. And I'd bring the police report. Case #20205 to 8841. Proof that this wasn't just family drama. This was a crime. What about the speech? Morgan asked. You need to know exactly what you're going to say. No rambling, no crying, just facts. I grabbed a notebook and started writing. The first draft was too long. The second was too angry. The third felt flat. By the fourth version, I had it. For 18 months, my parents stole $5,680 from my bank account. Every charge matched a purchase my sister posted on Instagram. My father lied on a federal loan application, claiming bad credit to avoid co-signing my student loans. His actual credit score is 780. He owns 3 rental properties worth over $1 million. My parents paid off $43,600 of Brianna's student loans. They paid $0 of mine. They claimed her as a dependent on their taxes for 4 years, collecting $14,600 in education credits. They didn't claim me once. 2 weeks ago, I filed a police report. Case number 2025 to 8841. Detective Maria Lopez is investigating them for theft and fraud. This isn't favoritism, it's a crime. 214 words. I timed it. 1 minute, 47 seconds. Perfect. Morgan said when I read it to her. Short, factual, devastating. What if they try to stop me? They will. That's why I'm coming with you. Morgan, non-negotiable. You need backup. And also, she paused. My cousin's the DJ at Lakeview. I can get you access to the microphone. I laughed, surprised. You're serious? Dead serious. You want to blow up your family at a country club? Let's do it right. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not relief, exactly. More like resolve. Okay, I said. July 12th. We do this. July 12th, Morgan echoed. And Jordan? Yeah? They're not going to know what hit them. The days leading up to July 12th felt surreal. I went to work. I answered Detective Lopez's follow-up questions. I organized my evidence folder for the third time, making sure every page was perfect. I didn't tell my parents I was coming to the party. I didn't RSVP. I just existed in the quiet before the explosion. Brianna texted twice more. Brianna, did you get my invite? Let me know if you're coming. Brianna, Mom's asking if you'll be there. She really hopes you will. I didn't respond. On July 11th, the night before the party, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, running through the speech in my head over and over. 214 words, 1 minute, 47 seconds. My phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Morgan, you awake? Me. Yeah. Morgan, nervous? Me. Terrified. Morgan, good. That means you care. But Jordan, you've got this. You have the evidence. You have the truth. They can't argue with that. Me. What if no one believes me? Morgan. Then they're idiots. But they will, because you're not making this up. You're just telling the truth. I stared at her message, something warm spreading through my chest. Me. Thank you. For everything. Morgan. See you tomorrow. Wear something that says, I'm about to ruin your day. I smiled despite myself and finally fell asleep around 3 a.m. The next morning, I woke up with a strange kind of clarity. I showered, dried my hair, put on the navy dress I'd bought for job interviews, professional, clean, the kind of outfit that said, I'm serious. I packed the evidence folder into a leather messenger bag Morgan had lent me. Printed bank statements, Instagram screenshots, credit report, police report, everything I needed to prove what they'd done. At 5:30 p.m., Morgan picked me up. You ready? She asked. I looked at the bag in my lap, at the evidence that represented 2 years of theft and a lifetime of being second. Yeah, I said. Let's go. Lakeview Country Club was exactly what I expected. Sprawling green lawns, white columns, valet parking, and a massive ballroom with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a lake that shimmered gold in the evening light. We pulled into the parking lot at 5:50 p.m. There were already 100 cars here. Maybe more. Big crowd, Morgan muttered. Good. We walked toward the entrance. I could hear music drifting from inside, something upbeat, celebratory. At the door, a woman with a clipboard smiled at us. Names? Jordan Hayes, I said. She scanned the list. I don't see. I'm the bride's sister. Her expression shifted. Oh, of course. Go right in. We stepped inside. The ballroom was stunning. String lights draped across the ceiling. Tables covered in white linens and gold centerpieces. A champagne tower near the entrance. A live band on a small stage. And people. Everywhere. I counted quickly. At least 200 guests. Maybe more. Perfect. I spotted my parents near the front, Mom in a lavender dress, Dad in a gray suit, both of them smiling and talking to a couple I didn't recognize. Brianna stood near the champagne tower with her fiancé, a tall man in a navy suit who looked uncomfortable under the attention. No one had seen me yet. Morgan nudged me. There's my cousin. Let me talk to him. She disappeared toward the DJ booth while I stood near the entrance, clutching my bag. This was it. The moment I'd been planning for 3 weeks. The moment that would change everything. Morgan returned 2 minutes later, grinning. You're good. He'll hand you the mic when you give the signal. What's the signal? Walk up to the DJ booth and tap the table twice. He'll make an announcement about toasts and pass it to you. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. You okay? Morgan asked. No. Good. Do it anyway. I nodded. Then I walked toward the DJ booth. I tapped the table twice. Morgan's cousin Jake, I think his name is, looks up and nods. He leans into the microphone, his voice cutting through the music. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention for a moment. We're going to start the toasts for our happy couple. First up, we have Jordan Hayes, sister of the bride. The room quiets. 200 heads turn toward me. I see my mother's face drain of color. My father's smile freeze. Brianna looks confused. Jake hands me the microphone. It's heavier than I expected. I take a breath and step forward. Hi, everyone. I'm Jordan, Brianna's sister. My voice echoes through the ballroom. I'm not here to toast. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. I'm here to talk about theft. Silence. Dead. Absolute silence. I pull the folder from my bag and hold it up. For 18 months, my parents stole $5,680 from my checking account. Someone gasps. Every charge matched a purchase my sister posted on Instagram. I pull out the first page bank statements with highlighted transactions and hold it up so the front tables can see. February 9th, Sephora, $154. Here's Brianna's Instagram post from the same day. I hold up the screenshot. March 18th, Anthropology, $198. Here's the post. Another screenshot. 23 transactions total, all unauthorized, all documented. My mother stands. Jordan, this is not. I'm not finished. My voice is steady now, cold. My father told me he couldn't co-sign my student loans because of bad credit. I pull out the credit report. His actual credit score is 780. He owns 3 rental properties worth over $1 million. Dad's face goes red. He lied on a federal loan application to avoid helping me. Meanwhile, my parents paid off $43,600 of Brianna's student loans. I looked directly at my sister. They paid $0 of mine? Brianna's fiancé, what's his name, Marcus, turns to her, his expression unreadable. For 4 years, my parents claimed Brianna as a dependent on their taxes. They collected $14,600 in education credits for her. I hold up the tax returns. They didn't claim me once. Someone in the crowd whispers, "Oh my God." 2 weeks ago, I filed a police report. Case number 2025 to 8841. Detective Maria Lopez is investigating my parents for theft and fraud. I pull out the police report and hold it up. The official seal is visible even from the back of the room. This isn't favoritism. It's not a family disagreement. I look at my parents. It's a crime. My father pushes his chair back, the legs scraping against the floor. Jordan, you are out of line. Am I? I cut him off. Because I have documentation for every word I just said. You're lying, Mom's voice cracks. We were going to pay you back. You had 18 months. You never said a word. We raised you, Dad shouts. We fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head. And stole from me. The words land like stones. Brianna finally finds her voice. Jordan, you're ruining my engagement party with lies. They're not lies. I pull out another page, screenshots of her Instagram. Every purchase I listed is on your public Instagram, Brianna. Want me to read the captions? She goes pale. Marcus turns to her fully now. Brianna, is this true? I didn't know. You posted about it, I say quietly. 23 times. The crowd shifts. I can feel the energy changing, turning away from my parents and toward me. Someone near the back pulls out their phone. They're filming. At my graduation, I continue, my voice stronger now. My parents gave my sister a $28,000 car. I pull out the last piece of evidence, a printed photo from my mom's Facebook. The one of Brianna standing in front of the red Honda, the bow gleaming on the hood. They gave me $15 and a lecture about responsibility. I hear someone in the crowd say, "Jesus Christ." I worked 30 hours a week for 4 years. I graduated summa cum laude with $38,000 in student loans I'm still paying off. My voice cracks, but I push through. My parents attended a $50,000 donor breakfast at my university on my graduation day. They brought Brianna. They missed my ceremony. Mom is crying now. Loud, ugly sobs. Dad looks like he wants to lunge at me, but 2 men near him, guests I don't recognize, step slightly closer, blocking him. "I'm not here for sympathy," I say. "I'm here because you all deserve to know who you're celebrating tonight." I look at Brianna's future in-laws, sitting at the head table, their faces frozen in shock. "You deserve to know that the people who raised me are thieves." I set the microphone down on the DJ table. The room erupts. Voices explode all at once. Marcus grabs Brianna's arm. "Did you know about this?" I swear I didn't. "You posted about it, Brianna." My father starts toward me, but Morgan steps between us. "Back off," she says, her voice low and dangerous. "Jordan has a restraining order ready. Try her." He stops. A woman from the middle of the room, I think she's one of Brianna's future in-laws, stands and walks toward my parents. "Richard," she says coldly, "is what your daughter just said true?" Dad can't answer. Mom sobs harder. "We have investments," Dad finally stammers. "We were going to this as a misunderstanding." "A police report isn't a misunderstanding," the woman says. 3 people near the back get up and leave. Then 5 more. Then 10. I watch the room fracture in real time. Some guests surround my parents, demanding answers. Others pull out their phones, whispering to each other, glancing between me and the evidence still spread across the DJ table. Marcus is arguing with Brianna near the champagne tower, his voice low and furious. An older man, Uncle Mike, my dad's brother, walks over to me. "Jordan," he says quietly. "Is all of that true?" I nod. He looks at my father, then back at me. "I'm so sorry," he says. "I had no idea." Then he walks past my parents without a word and leaves. Morgan touches my arm. "We should go." "Yeah." I pick up my evidence folder, tuck it back into the bag, and walk toward the exit. Behind me, I hear my mother scream, "Jordan, please." I don't turn around. Morgan and I walk out the front doors, past the valet, into the parking lot. The summer air hits my face, warm and thick. My hands are shaking. "You okay?" Morgan asks. "I don't know." She pulls me into a hug. Over her shoulder, I see guests streaming out of the ballroom. Some are on their phones. Others are talking in tight, urgent clusters. Someone's filming. The video's probably already uploading. "You just blew up your family," Morgan whispers. "I know. You're a goddamn hero." I laugh, sharp and breathless, and let myself cry. Not sad tears. Relief. For the first time in 22 years, I'd told the truth. And the whole world had heard it. The video went viral in 4 hours. I didn't post it. I didn't even know it existed until Morgan's phone started buzzing at midnight. Notification after notification lighting up her dark bedroom where we'd collapsed after the party. "Jordan." Her voice was quiet. Stunned. "You need to see this." Someone I never found out who had filmed the entire speech. 2 minutes and 11 seconds of me standing at the DJ booth, holding up bank statements and police reports while my parents' world crumbled behind me. The caption read, "Sister exposes parents' theft at engagement party with receipts. 340,000 views by 1 a.m. By morning, it was 2.3 million. My phone didn't stop. Text after text, call after call, all from numbers I didn't recognize. I turned it off at 3 a.m. and didn't turn it back on for 6 hours. When I finally did, there were 87 missed calls. 12 voicemails from my mother. Please call me. We can fix this. Please. 8 from my father. You've humiliated this family. Don't bother coming home. 5 from Brianna. I can't believe you did this. You ruined everything. And 1 from Uncle Mike. Jordan, I believe you. Call me when you're ready. I saved that one. Deleted the rest. Detective Lopez called at 9 a.m. Miss Hayes, I've seen the video. My stomach dropped. Am I in trouble? No. But your case just became a lot more public. The DA's office called me this morning. They want to fast-track the investigation. What does that mean? It means your parents are going to be formally interviewed this week, and given the evidence and the publicity, they're looking at charges. I sat down on my bed, the phone pressed to my ear, and let that sink in. Charges. Real, criminal charges. Thank you, I whispered. You did the hard part, Jordan, Detective Lopez said. Now let us do ours. That afternoon, Morgan showed me the comments on the video. Thousands of them. This is heartbreaking. She had receipts. The parents are criminals. Actual criminals. I hope she sues them into the ground. That sister knew. No way she didn't know. But there were other comments too. Harder ones. This is family business. She shouldn't have aired it publicly. Seems fake. Who brings a binder to a party? She's tearing her family apart for attention. Morgan reached over and closed the app. Don't read those. They think I'm lying. They're idiots. You have a police report, Jordan. You have proof. Let them think what they want. I nodded, but the comments stayed with me. By the next morning, the video had 4.8 million views. And my parents' phones, according to Uncle Mike, hadn't stopped ringing either. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Detective Lopez called me in for a formal interview 2 days after the party. I sat in the same small room where I'd filed the report, answered questions for 3 hours, and signed statements confirming every piece of evidence I'd provided. Your parents are being interviewed next week, Detective Lopez said. Separately. Standard procedure. What will you ask them? Everything. The debit card, the loan application, the tax returns. We'll see if their story matches yours. It didn't. According to Detective Lopez, my father claimed he'd had verbal permission to use my debit card for family emergencies. My mother said she didn't remember specific charges and that I was exaggerating. Brianna wasn't interviewed. She wasn't under investigation. But 3 weeks after the party, Marcus called off the engagement. I found out through Uncle Mike, who'd stayed in touch via text. Uncle Mike, thought you should know. Marcus ended things with Brianna. Said he couldn't marry into a family like that. I stared at the message for a long time. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel bad either. I just felt empty. By the end of August, the DA's office filed charges. Richard Hayes. Theft by deception class. 2 misdemeanor. Unauthorized use of financial device class. 1 misdemeanor. Federal loan fraud. Referred to FBI. Teresa Hayes. Accessory to theft class. 2 misdemeanor. The court date was set for early October. Yolanda called me the day the charges were filed. This is good, Jordan. Really good. With charges on the table, we can push for a strong plea deal. Restitution, probation, possibly counseling. What if they fight it? They won't. Not with your evidence. They'll plead out. She was right. 3 weeks before the trial, my parents' attorney contacted the DA with a plea offer. They'd plead guilty to the theft charges in exchange for dropping the federal fraud referral. The DA countered. Guilty plea, 18 months probation, full restitution of $5,680, plus court fees, $2,100. Mandatory financial counseling, and a 2-year restraining order. My parents accepted. On October 14th, I sat in the back of courtroom 4B and watched my parents stand before Judge Patricia Orozco. How do you plead to the charge of theft by deception? The judge asked. Guilty, my father said. his voice flat. How do you plead to accessory to theft? She asked my mother. Guilty. Judge Orozco looked at them for a long moment, her expression unreadable. You stole from your own child, she said quietly. Not once, but systematically. Over 18 months. You lied on federal documents. You sabotaged her education while funding your other daughters. This court finds your behavior reprehensible. My mother sobbed. My father stared at the floor. 18 months probation. Full restitution of $7,780, including fees, weekly financial counseling, and a restraining order prohibiting contact with the victim for 2 years. The gavel came down. It was over. I walked out of the courtroom with Yolanda and Morgan on either side of me, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The fallout was brutal. Within a week of the plea deal, my parents' social circle imploded. Uncle Mike told me the details over coffee one Saturday in November. He'd cut contact with my father entirely and had become something of an ally, checking in on me, offering support, filling me in on the family chaos I was no longer part of. Your dad's rental tenants found out, Mike said. 2 of them broke their leases early, said they didn't feel comfortable giving money to someone convicted of theft. Good. Your mom lost her position on the charity board. Someone sent them the video. I sipped my coffee and said nothing. And Brianna? Mike sighed. She's not doing well. She moved back in with your parents. Hasn't posted on social media since the party. Is she angry at them? I don't know. She won't talk to me. He paused. She won't talk to anyone. I thought about my sister, about the girl who'd gotten everything while I got nothing, who'd posted about stolen purchases without knowing, or maybe without caring, where the money came from. I didn't hate her, but I didn't forgive her either. The restraining order made things easier. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits. Just silence. Some family members took sides. Uncle Mike, Aunt Sarah, and my cousin Dev stood with me. They sent cards, called to check in, invited me to holidays. My maternal grandparents and 2 cousins sided with my parents. I got one email from my grandmother. You've destroyed this family. I hope you're proud. I deleted it. Most of the extended family just vanished. No calls, no messages. They stayed neutral by staying silent, and that told me everything I needed to know. By Christmas, the family I'd grown up with no longer existed, but a new one was forming. Uncle Mike hosted Thanksgiving at his house. 15 people showed up, family members who believed me, friends of friends who'd heard the story, and Morgan, who sat beside me the entire night and made sure I laughed at least once. It wasn't the Thanksgiving I'd imagined as a kid, but it was the one I needed. It's been 3 years now. 3 years since graduation. Since the $15 bill. Since the engagement party where I stood in front of 200 people and told the truth. I'm 25 now, sitting in my apartment different from the one I had back then, bigger, in a better part of town with a cup of coffee and a view of the city I've built a life in. The restitution came through 8 months after the plea deal. $7,780 deposited into my account in one lump sum by court order. I used $4,000 to pay down my student loans. The balance dropped from $38,000 to $34,000, and my monthly payment decreased by $120. It wasn't life-changing, but it was something. The rest went into savings. By the end of that first year, I'd saved enough to refinance my loans at a lower interest rate. My credit score, which had tanked during the investigation, climbed back up, 580 to 650, then 680, then 712. I got a promotion at work 6 months after the trial. Senior analyst. $78,000 a year. My manager told me I'd earned it through consistent excellence and resilience, and I almost cried in her office. I started grad school that fall, not because I had to, because I wanted to. I applied to 3 MBA programs. 2 offered partial scholarships. 1. My top choice offered a full ride plus a $15,000 stipend. I accepted. 2 years later, I graduated with my MBA. Top 10% of my class, debt-free, this time. No one from my immediate family attended, but Uncle Mike did. So did Morgan, Aunt Sarah, and Dev. They cheered when my name was called, and I walked across that stage with my head high, knowing I'd earned it. Every single step. I bought my own car last year. Not new, used, reliable. A Honda Civic with 40,000 miles. I paid $12,000 in cash. No loans, no cosigners, just money I'd saved from 2 years of careful budgeting and side gigs. The first time I drove it off the lot, I cried. Not because of the car, because I'd done it myself. I haven't spoken to my parents in 3 years. The restraining order expired after 2 years, but I never reached out. Neither did they. I heard through Uncle Mike that my father sold one of his rental properties. Financial trouble, apparently. My mother works part-time at a department store now. They downgraded their house. I don't feel good about it. But I don't feel bad either. Brianna and I haven't spoken since the engagement party. I see her occasionally on Instagram, her profile's private now, but mutual acquaintances still post photos. She looks older, tired. Uncle Mike told me she tried to reach out once. About a year ago. She asked him for my number. I said no. Maybe someday I'll be ready to hear what she has to say. Maybe I'll want to know if she's sorry, if she understands what happened, if she's changed. But not yet. For now, the distance is a gift. Morgan's still my best friend. My person. The one who sat with me at midnight and helped me build a case against my own family because she believed me when no one else did. She's in med school now. We still get coffee every Sunday and text each other terrible memes at 2 a.m. Some things don't change. Uncle Mike's family has become my family. We do holidays together, birthdays, random Tuesday dinners when we're both free. He walked me down the aisle at my grad school graduation. And when I got my first promotion, he was the first person I called. Your dad should have been proud of you, he said. But since he's an idiot, I'll be proud enough for both of us. I cried for 20 minutes after that call. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, if I wish I'd handled things differently, if I miss my parents. The answer is complicated. I don't regret exposing them. They stole from me. They lied to me. They chose my sister over me for 22 years, and when I finally stood up for myself, they called me dramatic. I don't regret the engagement party. I don't regret the police report. I don't regret the trial. But I do grieve. I grieve the family I should have had, the parents who should have celebrated my scholarship, the sister who should have been my ally instead of my rival. I grieve the version of my life where love didn't come with conditions. But grief and regret aren't the same thing. I'm not sorry I fought back. I'm not sorry I demanded better. And I'm not sorry I walked away. Some people say family is everything, that you should forgive, move on, rebuild. But I learned something these past 3 years. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shows up. It's Morgan, sitting with me at 2 a.m. while I built a case against my parents. It's Uncle Mike, hosting Thanksgiving so I wouldn't spend it alone. It's Aunt Sarah, texting me every Sunday to check in. It's the chosen family I built from the ashes of the one I was born into. My parents wanted me to learn about the real world. They wanted me to understand responsibility, sacrifice, hard work. I learned that I'm stronger than they ever gave me credit for. I learned that I don't need their approval to succeed. I learned that sometimes, walking away is the bravest thing you can do. 3 years ago, I stood in a country club ballroom and told 200 people the truth. Today, I'm sitting in an apartment I pay for, with a career I built, and a family I chose. I graduated summa cum laude with $15 and a lecture. Now I have a master's degree, zero tolerance for disrespect, and a life I'm proud of. They wanted me to learn about the real world. I did. I learned that I'm better off without them in it. And honestly, That's the best lesson they ever taught me. If you've experienced financial abuse, favoritism, or family betrayal, know this: you're not being dramatic, you're not overreacting, and you deserve better. Document everything, build your case, find your people, and when you're ready, tell your truth. The world is listening. This is Achiever Betrayed. If you want to hear more stories like this, stories of people who fought back, stood up, and rebuilt their lives after family betrayal, subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because you're not alone, and your story matters. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the family you choose is the one worth keeping.